you're wondering what a morph is in a snake, how breeding projects start to work, and why people pay thousands of dollars for certain morphs of ball pythons and boa constrictors, you're in the right place, because today we're breaking down what morphs actually are, how they work in ball pythons and boa constrictors, and how breeders create crazy designer morphs. So if you're thinking about buying your first pet snake, thinking about breeding, or just want to understand the hobby better, you're in the right place. So let's dive in. We're gonna start with the basics here. So what are morphs? The word morph comes from morphology. It's a fancy word that just means form or structure. And in reptiles, it just refers to the genetic mutations that change how the snake looks. Things like color, pattern, or both. So when someone says banana ball python or an IMG boa, what they're really talking about is the morph, not the species. It's basically a genetic trait that was either discovered naturally or selectively bred over time. There are three main visual traits that affect morphs. You're gonna have color, like albino, banana, pastel. You're gonna have patterns, like spider, motley, or even Aztec. And you can have both, like clowns. They affect pattern and the color. These traits are passed down through genetics. Just like humans inherit their hair color, their eye color, snakes inherit morph traits from their parents. Some genes are dominant, which means you really only need one trait for it to show up. Recessive, you need 2 copies from both parents for it to be seen. You have incomplete dominant, or codom. 1 copy gives you a visible trait, and 2 copies give you more intense super version, like a super pastel. Now that we got that all the way, we're gonna talk about the kings of the morphs, which are ball pythons. As of 2025, there are over 500 different named morphs and thousands upon thousands of crazy color combinations. So we're gonna have to break this down. Base morphs are single gene snakes. Think Mojave, pinstripe, albino, pastel. Then you're gonna have your combo morphs. This is where things get a little spicy. Breeders stack 2 or more genes to create combos, for instance, like a pastel NG clown. That's a 3-gene comboed animal. Then you have what they call designer morphs, which are incredibly high valuable, insane looking snakes. These are typically branded, they create their own morph name. They have high visual appeal most of the time. For instance, like the Pompeii or even the puzzle. They're often line bred for contrast and value. Now, the gene types for the ball pythons. You're gonna have the dominants, traits that show with 1 copy. For instance, like the pinstripe. Recessive, traits that hide unless you get 2 copies, like albino or pied. Then you're gonna have the incomplete dominant or codom. These are traits that have like the super versions, like pastel to pastel becomes a super pastel. And when breeding, these rules help predict the offspring. For example, a pastel to pastel, 25% chance of hitting a super pastel. Het albino with a het albino, you have a 25% chance of hitting a visual albino. And then with Mojave to Mojave, you can produce bells, blue-eyed leucistic snakes. Ball python projects can often revolve around collecting and stacking recessives. So think cloud plus pied, or desert ghost plus hypo. This is how the breeders are able to stack and sell their snakes that are worth about $3,000 to $10,000 or more. Now, boa constrictors don't have as many morphs, but the ones that they do have, it's the chef's kiss. There are about 100 named morphs for boa constrictors, and breeders are developing or discovering more every single year. So let's break it down really quickly. So we have the color morphs that are included in boa constrictors. You have the albinos. Those are sharps. Those are VPIs. Those are calls. You have bloods, you have hypo, and then you have aneri. Then you have pattern morphs. So you'll have patterns like jungle, motley, like art here, Aztec. IMGs darken with every single shed. And Mr. Art here just popped out. Then you have the combo morphs, like sunglow. Needs hypo and albino, and you need the same copy of the albino for the sunglow. You have ghost, which is hypo and aneri. You have what they call this fire opal, which is a triple recessive, typically a VPI, aneri, and blood, but it takes some serious time and generations to create. So boa morphs pretty much follow the same rules as the ball pythons. There is a little bit of an added twist. Recessive is albinos, aneri, blood, leopards. Incomplete dominance, jungle, hypo, motley, and IMG. Then you have the polygenics. Traits like the pastels pass through line breeding. Not just with 1 gene, but a whole bunch of genes working together, like the RC pastel line. But here's the biggest thing if you ever decide to breed boa constrictors. Motley to motley equals death. A super motley is guaranteed death for all of your snakes and can have some serious deformities that they won't live till past 2 years old. So ethical breeders avoid breeding motley to motley. This is why you need to understand genetics before you get into breeding. So why should you really be caring about the morphs? Because as a buyer, your morphs are going to affect your value and the cost that you're going to be paying. For instance, value, a basic morph wild type, just nothing, is going to be about $100. But you have some rare combos that could be upwards of $5,000 from boa constrictors and upwards of $12,000 for ball pythons. Understanding morphs are going to help you with health. Some genes carry issues. For example, the spider or the hidden woma gene in ball pythons. It causes wobble. Then you have temperament. Some lines are a little bit more docile due to selective breeding. And then you have ethics. Responsible breeders avoid harmful combos, breed for health and structure, and they label their genes correctly. And this is where breeding projects come into play. So what exactly is a breeding project? Breeding project is when you work toward producing a specific combo or goal. That might be making visual double or triple recessives, refining a certain line for color and contrast, introducing new genes into an existing project, or even trying to create your own quote-unquote designer morph. For example, I'm currently working on 2 projects going into next year. I have Art and Sydney. Art is an IMG Motley 100% het VPI. He's going to be pairing with my girl, Sydney, who is a red rum pastel hypo VPI. I have Annabelle, who is a VPI Motley Jungle RC Pastel Red Panther line, pairing with my male Kruger, who is a Cherry Pastel VPI Sunglow. The goal is high contrast, extreme visuals, healthy boas with killer patterns and extremely good temperament. Some projects can take years, but the payoff could be an absolute legacy built. If this video helped you by any means, if it helped you just a little bit understand more about morphs and how morphs are actually incorporated into breeding, or you just found it pretty cool to learn before you bought, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. LC Royal Scales is building a hobby built in education, fun, ethics, badass snakes, and family fun education. Till next time.